Braum, the mustache man, up there with Ivern as one of the friendliest champions in the entire game. And let me tell you, I could get lost in that mustache or arms any day. So for the next 10 hours, I'm gonna try to learn Braum in 3 steps. First, normal games, second, do some research, and third, play some ranked games. I'm doing this because I'm trying to learn every champion, so one day I can make the greatest Viego video ever. So what runes and builds should you go on Braum? Well, for your rune, you've got really one option, and that's Guardian, because it makes your whole job of standing near your carry and protecting them a lot easier. For your build, you have 2 main support options, Solstice Slay and Celestial Opposition, but I like Solstice Slay a lot more. Yes, you're a little bit less tanky, but you give your carry more survivability, which is again your whole job. As for your other items, it's pretty standard tanky support stuff, Locket of the Iron Solari, Knight's Vow, Bramble Vest if you need anti-heal, and Redemption for more healing and health and stuff. And obviously, if you need MR, you can replace Bramble Vest or Redemption as needed. Anyway, on to some normal games. And my first game did not get off to a great start. You can tell at the start of this fight, my mindset's correct. I use my shield and slows to peel and protect my carry. But my inexperience shows because I don't actually stun either of the enemies, which leads to me dying. But I do adjust for this a little later by making sure I actually stun the enemy Jinx, which leads to a kill. I mean, this is my first game on Braum, so I really didn't understand how important my auto attacks are. Like in this fight, I have a pretty good shield and ult, but I only auto attack 2 times, so my passive doesn't stun anyone. I thought after I start my passive with the first auto, it's up to my team to get the stun, but I couldn't be further from the truth. And even though I ended up doing pretty well this game, I was gonna need to auto attack a lot more to get the most out of Braum. But still, not a bad first game. So going into my next game, I definitely tried to auto attack more, even if it led to some kill steals. I didn't mean to take it, but it's okay. We have to auto attack everybody. It's nothing. Oh my god, oh my god. But already after my first game, I was autoing way more. Basically, when you play Braum, you want to auto or Q every enemy at least once. Then, don't stop hitting so you can get as many stuns as possible, even if you accidentally take a kill sometimes. But that's not all. I was using my Q to poke more in lane too. Even though it's not as good as like a Nautilus Q, the damage is solid and one good Q can engage a winning fight. After just 2 games though, I was already feeling really comfortable with Braum because his playstyle fits so well with me, staying next to my AD carry to keep them alive and dishing out crowd control if anyone gets close. I even started to get some pretty good engages once I knew my AD carry was safe, catching out the enemy Jinx here. And when you have Guardian, Locket of the Iron Solari, Knight's Vow, and all of your abilities, there is no way even a fed Diana can kill your AD carry. Since my laning phase was improving, I started trying to roam a little bit more. Braum again can stun multiple people with his passive, so I thought maybe he'd be good in fights around objectives. And honestly, Braum is really good at these small skirmishes. I was still getting used to his limits and everything, but I could already tell I was gonna roam with this champion a lot more. You see, support is probably my least played role other than AD carry, so I really didn't know what to expect, but for some reason, this role was immediately making sense to me, and I was having a lot of fun. I haven't played any enchanters yet, but these tanky supports like Braum, Taric, Nautilus, and Leona all fit my playstyle perfectly. And when I hit this 4-man ult, I knew this challenge was gonna be a banger. I mean, sure, it's just normal games right now, but this is something special. That is, until I played against my first ranged poke support. And even though I have a shield that blocks projectiles, this matchup was a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be. You see, Braum is more of a counter pick than a blind pick. He's great for shutting down engaged supports with all of his CC and peel, but ranged supports can be kinda difficult. Your poke is pretty good with your Q, especially for a tanky support, but it's nothing compared to the poke from a Karma or Hui like this game, so I struggled. But when it came to team fights and getting picks, I was still very good. I just had such a weak early game that I was way weaker than in my first couple of games, which led to my first pretty bad loss. After these games, I realized Braum is freaking awesome. So I did some research on YouTube and here's what I found. 1. Against ranged supports, you need to play aggressive and look for an engage. You will always lose the poke battle, even if you block some stuff with your shield. 2. Against melee supports, sit next to your AD carry and just wait to peel. In a 2v2, there is no way the enemy will win because of your CC, resistances, and shield to block the enemy's attacks. 3. Your ult has 2 main functions. Offensively, if your team lacks engage, you can use it to start fights with the slow and knockup. But defensively, if the enemy team has a lot of engage, wait until they jump on you and use it to disengage and peel for your carries. 4, you have surprisingly good engage in lane with your W and Q. Basically, you W to an allied minion that's close to the enemy and Q them for a pretty long range engage. And 5, your poke is surprisingly strong, especially for a tanky support, but you have to shoot your Q from the bushes so the enemy doesn't see it coming. If you just use it randomly, it's pretty easy to dodge. Anyway, on to some ranked games. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but my first ranked game was one of my best support games of all time. I dropped a 30 bomb in assists and won a super dominant game. I had good early roams, which helped my team get super far ahead. I had great fights in lane that got my lane ahead, which led to tons of dragons. I took it, no! Even if there were a few hiccups along the way. I had amazing team fights where not only I peeled for my AD carry, but also got off tons of crowd control and somehow lived even though I started the fight with less than half HP. And of course, had an amazing engage in the final fight, cutting off the enemy Silas, using Locket to save my team from Vel'Koz's ult, and spacing super well at the end to get off just a little bit of extra crowd control. I mean, did I play perfectly? Holy shit, that was a big oh, I'm dead anyway. No. But for my first ranked game, I was actually so excited. I genuinely think I played fights super well by not only keeping my team alive, but also getting good crowd control that impacted fights. And of course, securing the occasional kill. Hey, look, a support needs to eat too, okay? Unfortunately, my next game did not start as well. And it was at this moment I realized how important it is to control these bot bushes. When did he get into that goddamn bush? I'm so sorry. And I realized I still have a lot of problems, like thinking I'm unkillable just because I have my E, even when I only have 300 HP. It's just, when I had my E, I felt invincible, but I needed to learn that even though my E is very powerful, it's only powerful in certain situations. And I also didn't use my W enough in fights. I was pretty good at using it to engage, but after the laning phase, I would forget to use it defensively to escape or save Lucian here. But even though I forgot to use it defensively sometimes, I was very good at using it to engage, like the first part of this fight a few seconds earlier. Luckily, I was able to go back to what I do best, taking fights and keeping my AD carry alive, even if not every fight went my way. What is sucking me so hard? I will admit, I did have some struggles during the early laning phase, but once I was out of lane, my instincts would just take over and I would have these massive engages in fights. I mean, just look at this fucking team fight. I stall with my E, and once my team shows up, I get a huge ult and a choke point, shield my team with Locket, and manage to win the fight for my team. Oh yeah, we were down 10 kills, 5 towers, and 2 dragons at this point. I'm too good. Just to do basically the exact same thing 3 minutes later. We got less kills this time, but we got all the flowers and 2 kills about 30 seconds later. I was honestly starting to feel at home on Braum, and this was just the tip of the iceberg for him. And even though I played that last fight terribly, literally missing every ability and dying, I'm still a huge reason my team was able to come back this game and once again had another 30 assist game. If I could just get better at laning phase, I'd be a god. Hey, wait a minute, this game's actually off to a pretty good start. I mean, sure, I accidentally used my shield in the wrong direction and let my AD carry die, but this is going surprisingly well. I even secured a few kills. Gotta make sure she didn't flash away or something here. Genuinely though, Braum's ability to keep his AD carry alive while also having enough crowd control to impact fights is disgusting. Braum has some bad matchups, but he is always useful due to his kit. I never thought I would say this, but I'm having so much fun playing support right now. This is genuinely the most fun I've had playing League of Legends in a while, and it's on support. Winning definitely helps with the having fun part though. But honestly, support is kinda awesome. If you want, you can just play normally and get kills in lane. Or you can roam around the map getting vision and basically acting as a second jungler. Oh, guess what? She's also dead. It's crazy. And of course, you gotta secure some kills sometimes. Braum's tanky stats, supportive playstyle, and team fighting all just fit me so perfectly. But you know what? Some games your jungler tries to randomly invade and dies at level 2. And then immediately
A summoner has disconnected.
quits the game. Oh yeah, while that whole thing was going on, I was having one of the best early laning phases ever. It's fine though, some games are just out of your control and you gotta focus on having fun. And focus on limit testing a little bit. I'm not gonna kill her. I trolled! However, soon after this game, the cracks were about to show. But not quite yet. You know how I said I struggled with Braum's early game at the start of this challenge? Well, the more I started to understand his damage, the better I was getting at his early game. And I have to say, it's kind of surprising how much damage Braum does early game. His Q scales with HP, his slow means the enemy can never escape, and your passive gives you a decent amount of bonus damage.
We're on a killing spree! We're the 80 carry Braum, baby!
I mean, he's never gonna carry the game, but maybe if I went attack speed Braum or something, I could? No, that would be ridiculous. But it was this point when my overconfidence was at an all-time high. Up until this point, everything had kind of just worked out on Braum and I felt like I could do no wrong. Roaming and fighting on this champion just felt so natural to me, it was crazy. Fighting in lane was making more and more sense to me, dealing tons of damage while staying in front of my AD carry to protect them from crowd control. And once I learned how important my auto attacks were, my team fighting also became amazing. Look at how I auto attack way more here than at the start of the challenge. But after this game, my world was about to be shattered. And just like that, I was having my first bad game. Well, not bad early game, I actually had a couple of pretty good plays. I was obviously getting a lot more confident with Braum's range, slows, and kill threat, so whenever the enemy stepped up too far, I was able to get a kill. But I started having problems in the mid game because I was against an enemy Zyra, Xerath, and Jinx. I just had no way of dealing with these ranged teams, which was so frustrating to me because my E is literally designed to reduce the damage of ranged attacks. But if the enemy has too many ranged attacks, your E just isn't enough. I kept getting hit by abilities with no way of fighting back, and then I'd get frustrated trying to make this flashy play that probably wouldn't have worked anyway. And I had my first loss in a while. Luckily, my next game did go a little bit better.
Never mind, I take it back. She is the best player I've ever seen.
No! And even though I was against a long-ranged bot lane, Vel'Koz and Caitlyn, we were able to get far enough ahead to just run them down. Their range meant nothing if they did no damage. But again, I struggled in teamfights because Vel'Koz, Caitlyn, Karma, and even Gragas to some extent all had tons of poke I just couldn't deal with. Luckily, Jinx got super fed this game, so I just used all of my abilities to keep her alive. It wasn't much, but at least we won the game. However, my struggles continued in the next game too, even after a surprisingly good early game. And actually, this really good early game is what caused my next issue. The fact that, at the end of the day, I'm just a support. I can play incredibly well, showing up to every fight, engaging important fights while also keeping my carries alive, like when Fizz tried to kill Lux here. Then, I could play on a knife's edge, somehow staying alive, keeping Yasuo alive, and killing Poppy. But at the end of the day, I'm just a support. I can't do enough damage to carry the fight, and if my team splits up or doesn't do enough damage, no amount of crowd control or peel is gonna win us the game. The thing I like about Braum though is that you always feel like you're able to do something. Braum's ability to protect, engage, and peel means that you can have an impact and win games even if you have a bad start. Which leads me to my last major issue on support, when you and your AD carry just aren't on the same page. Like here, if Caitlyn had auto-ed Draven one more time, he would have been stunned, but she wasn't ready for the fight, even though I saw an opportunity. And if things weren't bad enough, this happened. And then this.
All right, we have F.
Yeah, we all got a little tilted and lost after that one. So going into my last two games, I had to just take a deep breath, relax, and remember why I played so well on Braum in the first place.
Fucking worth.
I went back to roaming and focusing on playing with my team. Over these last few games, I kept trying to force plays, but the more I tried to force, the less control I had over the game. Because again, I'm the support. I'm not the carry, I'm not the main engage, usually, and I'm not that strong on my own. Once I went back to keeping my carries alive and blocking as much damage as I could, the game started going better again. Even if some teamfights were won just because the entire enemy team stepped on a bunch of Teemo shrooms. Anyway, I think it's easy to sometimes get caught up in the win streak, thinking you can just do no wrong. And getting humbled a little bit with a few quick losses can be good and help you improve in the long run. And if there's anyone that can help me with this mindset, it's Braum. one of the humblest, nicest, and supportiest champions in the game. My job is to block projectiles, take 5 tower shots, and provide crowd control so my team can go off and get a quadra kill. Which brings me to my final game on Braum, where I was paired with a Ziggs, someone who doesn't even auto-attack to help activate my passive. But instead of getting tilted, I decided to just play the way Ziggs wanted to play, and when an opportunity presented itself, we went for kills together, even if I missed every ability here. And when it came time for the team fights, well, I did what I do best, keeping everyone alive and making sure that no one on the enemy team could get away. So yeah, I don't need to be the star or the main carry. I just need to make sure that the rest of my team can be their best. Watching like a proud parent as the rest of my team goes off and does amazing things, and I'm just happy that things turned out so well. And I think we all can learn a little bit from that, because remember,
the heart is the strongest muscle.
unless you rage quit at level 2 like the Rengar did, then you can go fuck yourself.